Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pageant Project. My guest for tonight, her time is Madalaina Hlava. I will just read out her bio for you. She's an engineer and STEM advocate who believes confidence matters just as much as credentials. As a founder of EmpowHER in STEM, she focuses on building community and sharing resources that support girls and young women as they navigate STEM, leadership, and spaces where they may not always feel represented. Well, Madalaina, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for so much for having me.
Of course. First question, since it's summer here down under, what's the weather like for you right now?
Cold. So I live in the Midwest. I specifically Southern Illinois, about 40 minutes outside of St. Louis. But Midwest weather is very finicky. It was 70 degrees last week, and right now it's 18. So,
I'm trying to work out what that is in Celsius.
oh my gosh, yeah. Well,
That's
we're
not
below freezing.
warm.
We're below freezing right now, way below freezing, and it was very, very warm last week. I could wear a t-shirt and shorts last week, and today I'm bundled up.
I spent some time working in Milwaukee, which is somewhere
Mhm.
near where you're at, and all I
It's
remember
more
was
north.
it was so cold. My boss, I was working for a tennis YouTube, the biggest tennis YouTube channel in the world is based in Milwaukee. That's a fun fact. But he knew I was from Australia and didn't know anything about the cold. So he told me to boil water in a kettle, throw it up in the air, and it came
Mhm.
down as snow.
Mhm.
Is it that cold or not
It's
quite that
almost
bad?
that cold. So if we were in Chicago, it would very much so you'd be able to do that. But here it's not as cold. Thankfully, it's very rare that we get that cold down here in Southern Illinois. I was
Okay.
actually in Chicago last weekend, and there's a reason why it's called the Windy City, and it's because of the water. And with the temperature that's here right now, up there, it would feel like it's below 5 degrees Fahrenheit. So cold, very cold up there.
Do you prefer winter or are you a winter or summer person?
Oh, so I snowboard and I golf. So it's two very drastically different hobbies that I like to do. I have done some winter golf though recently, and I do not recommend it in any way, shape, or form. But I also don't recommend snowboarding in warm weather. So I'm very much so a both person. But my perfect weather is wearing shorts and wearing a hoodie, if that gives you any idea.
Okay, that sounds like what I remember about Chicago. I remember Chicago being quite unpredictable in terms of you could have four seasons in one day.
Oh,
That's that
absolutely.
that and the pizza. I had my first deep dish pizza over there. I remember windy, unpredictable weather and
Yes.
really, really good pizza. Not probably good for you, especially if you're in pageant prep.
Oh, I've
Um,
I've actually never had deep dish like Chicago style pizza before. Crazy enough. And I've lived in Illinois almost my entire life.
is that because you don't like pizza?
Because I'm not in Chicago that much. We have I'm near St. Louis, so we have Emo's Pizza is what it's called. So it's basically cardboard with provolone cheese on top. Is the
Nice.
best way to describe it, and it's cut into squares, but that's like a staple around here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cardboard with provolone cheese on it is a
essentially,
staple. All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Noted for
And
it. Is Illinois
toasted ravioli as well.
I'm not getting a particularly good picture of the food scene, I have to say, Madalena. Is it as grim as it sounds?
The toasted ravioli is a lot better than the cardboard with the cheese on top, I will say that.
God forbid that you ever bring an Italian, like, because
I
Italians are
am
very,
Italian. I am Italian,
and you're
surprising enough.
eating ravioli. Don't you
Yes,
feel like
yes.
culturally you shouldn't be doing this?
Oh, yes.
Toasted, with like
Yes.
fried in
So
a
it's fried.
pan.
Yes. Yeah. So it's breaded and it's fried, and then you eat it with marinara.
Okay. I feel like we've offended like 99% of the audience, 100% of the Italian audience. Um, let's get into how you, well, let me ask you about the sports that you
Yeah.
mentioned. Just back up.
Mhm.
Snowboard and golf.
Yes.
I'm not a huge fan of golf, if I'm honest. I don't mind the driving range,
Mhm.
but golf itself, I don't need more reasons to swear than I already have. Snowboarding, I do skiing.
Mhm.
Snowboarding, I remember it was always my extreme adrenaline junkie friends who snowboarded versus skiing. And when they wiped out, they would have the biggest wipeouts, although they'd never get injured, which was a funny thing. Skiers always got injured. But can you just explain? Those seem like two very, very different sports.
Yeah, so I picked up both hobbies because of my friends. So, my male friends, they're all my coworkers, and they like to golf, and they would golf every single weekend. And I like to call boys club, and they don't like that. And so they started inviting me. And at first, I thought that I wasn't going to like it, but I very much so have a personality where if I try something, I have to be good at it, or I have to beat someone at it, which makes sense as to why I'm competing in pageantry. But I started picking it up, and I with someone who has ADHD, we naturally tend to get very good at things and pick things up very easily, and that was how it was with golf. And I would just go to the driving range by myself, had to go hit balls and get better. And whenever I started actually playing with my male friends, that was very much so how it was. They're very supportive, but it's drastically different than snowboarding. I will say, with both, you need a lot of patience. At the last time that I snowboarded, actually, was quite painful. I we snowboarded in Eureka, Missouri, which is about an hour away from me, and at Hidden Valley, not the ranch, but the ski resort. And I we went down our first big hill. I didn't even know that the bunny hills existed at the ski resort. I would just go straight down all the big hills, but I was on my toes a little bit too much, and I hit a lip and face planted, and I actually thought I broke my nose. And so after that, I did find the bunny hills, and I will be camping there for a little bit. I will say, uh, it was opening weekend and the snow was very fresh and there was a lot of people around, so that it will be my home for the next couple visits.
Wow. Okay. When you
Yes.
say, sorry, stupid Australian question.
Yes.
When you say bunny hills, do you
Yes.
mean literal like rabbit hills,
No,
or is this a
no.
name
So
of a place?
it's a name. So in layman's terms, it's basically the very easy hill. It's not as
Oh, right.
steep, so you're not likely to go down very fast, and one of my issues is that I go fast and I don't know how to turn very well yet. And so I would just go straight down the hill, and whenever I was trying to turn, I again went on my toes just a little bit too much, and I hit a lip and just face planted. So thankfully I had padding on my knees and on my butt. And it let me tell you, it works. It works.
How does patting on your butt help if you land in your on your face though?
It's everywhere, so it's all over.
Right. Okay. Have you so
Yes,
did it ever cross your mind when you were barreling down the hill that maybe you should have learned how to turn before you went really, really
probably.
fast?
Yes, yeah. Which I can turn. I know how to turn a little bit, but it's whenever you're going really fast, if you make the slightest movement, then
Yeah.
there's one of two things that'll happen is you'll go the direction you're going or you'll fall forward or fall backwards. So
It sounds like it needs a lot of concentration.
it does, and a lot of patience.
Okay, so just because we spoke briefly
Mhm,
before we went on the
mhm.
air about ADHD, I mean, you've been
Yeah.
diagnosed, I've been
Mhm,
diagnosed, and my sport of choice is tennis. I became a tennis
mhm.
coach, but I had no natural talent to speak of, and I just love tennis for whatever reason. And I actually taught myself how to play tennis, which is virtually unheard of because everyone says you need a coach. I was like, well, now that I know with the ADHD, it makes a lot more sense. But there's something about it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of thought, and I love the intricacies of it. What was your learning process like with both golf and the snowboarding? Was it self-directed? Did you enjoy the process? Did you have the patience? Did you hyper focus on it? Because I could spend hours on the court, and there are
Mhm.
some things I can't spend 5 minutes doing, but that was a different place.
Yeah, so with both of us very much so self-taught. I had some friends who definitely gave me tips and tricks on how to be better, but I'm someone who I just have to do it, and if it's
Yeah.
wrong, then I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And that was a nice thing about whenever I did gymnastics, not actual gymnastics, but cheerleading gymnastics, and played stunt the sport in college. I'm very much so aware of my body and what it's doing, and
Mm.
that's how I've been able to get better at snowboarding or get better at golf or any other sport that I decide to pick up.
So just a question, because going back to the tennis coaching, one of the
Yeah.
people that I found the hardest to coach were the gymnasts or the dancers. They would have phenomenal body awareness, but very often they were lacking the hand-eye coordination.
Mhm.
Like you'd throw a ball at them and it would hit them in the face, not because you threw it that fast. That skill was completely lacking. But they always looked so controlled and so
Mhm.
balanced every time they would swing and miss at the ball. But if you've got golf, you've always got the hand-eye coordination as well, I'm assuming.
A little bit. I've been yelled at quite a bit about keeping my head down and keeping my eye on the ball. So whenever I hit it, I typically lose it. So
Okay, that's fair enough.
yeah.
What has your process been like? I mean, you said you got diagnosed with ADHD. Was it in grade three?
Yeah, I was in third grade whenever I got diagnosed. I was actually very much so a troublemaker. And it
Right.
wasn't more so the fact that I was undisciplined, it was the fact that I couldn't focus. And
Mm,
I tended to also distract my peers. And after a couple, from kindergarten, first grade, and then going into third grade, after constantly getting in trouble or being faced towards the wall so I wouldn't get distracted, I finally got diagnosed and found out that I had ADHD, and from then on, I had to learn how to learn with a learning disability as well as medication or therapy or different ways to make me successful. And a lot of the times I thought, or for the longest time, I actually thought that I just wasn't smart enough.
mm,
But I very much so found out that that wasn't the case, that my brain was moving faster than everyone else's. So the lessons that were really fast in school, whatever grade I was
yeah.
in, I naturally tended to pick up on those lessons a lot quicker than the ones that we took the time to learn how to do. And I also learn by teaching other people, and that's how I've been able to become good at whether that's pageantry or mentorship or even in my job with teaching other people how to do my job.
So when you mentioned the brain moving a bit
Mhm.
too fast thing, that's
Oh.
something that I deeply resonate
Mhm.
with. So I mean, you had your diagnosis longer than myself. What have been some of the lessons you've learned in terms of being able to perform at your best? Because I also feel that ADHD people very often, the moniker that I use is they're not living quite up to their potential. Someone said it's like a sports car that has like shopping trolley brakes. And when I heard that, it's like, yeah, that's exactly it. The brain will rocket off. What it's kind of
Mhm.
like you and snowboarding in a way. It goes
Yeah.
way too fast, but it doesn't know how to turn, sort of thing.
Mhm.
What are some of the things that you've found useful in helping you perform to your true potential in dealing with the ADHD?
Multitasking definitely helps being able to not just focus on something for a long extended period of time, but kind of giving myself like an hour to do this, an hour to do that has helped a lot. That way I don't overstimulate or get bored with whatever I'm working with. I am also very much so someone who who works very well under pressure.
Yeah.
So which doesn't necessarily help whenever there's a deadline. But I actually was working on something all last week for about 3 days, and I found out on my 2 days of PTO that everything that I worked on was gone. Lost everything. And so before this morning, I had to make all of that up, and I learned from my mistakes, and I actually figured out how to do something way faster from that
Right.
mistake. And also having a timeline that I needed to follow definitely helps.
That squares with a lot of my experience. I think when I was in school and there was a more structured, at least my
Mhm.
school, private school, very academic, it was very structured and very disciplined. And so I never would have thought, oh, I've got ADHD. But when I went to college, it was a lot less structured. And so basically everything went all over the place. And so I've learned that I think I need structure and
Mhm.
pressure for me actually. I mean, they say pressure is a privilege. I actually, similar to yourself, I think the more pressure there is, the better I perform. Has that been your experience as well?
Yeah, I believe so.
Right. You said you lost everything. And just as a person in tech, how did you
Yeah,
manage to lose everything?
user error. So I normally, oddly enough, I normally use all of my programs on a web browser, and for some odd reason, I decided to actually use the program, like the app.
Yeah.
And I guess I just didn't hit autosave. And so whenever I went to go look on Friday to kind of finish a couple things up, I realized I lost all my data and everything, and I was like, crap. Okay, cool. Awesome. Now I have to figure this out. And of course, the stress and everything, I had to use my brain and figure out how to make up 3 days worth of work in less than two. So,
That just sounds painful and quite
oh,
traumatizing
it
as
was
well.
very painful. Yes. I don't like
I
Excel, so.
I don't. I know one person who loves Excel, and I don't really know why. I work a lot on web apps. The problem with me is sometimes you accidentally hit Control W to close a
Mhm,
window. I don't know what it is on a Mac or anything like that, but then suddenly you've closed the wrong window and all your work disappears. So
mhm.
I do relate to that. Can you tell me more about how you got? Tell me first off what field specifically you're in, and then how you got into it.
Yeah, so I currently work for a smart technology building company, and it was very much so on a whim. I actually started at Maryville University, where I graduated from, as a biomedical engineer. And I majored in that, and I got a severe concussion and a neck sprain that kept me out of school for about a month and a half, and had post-concussion symptoms after that for about a
Right.
year and a half, and decided to switch my major halfway through my third year to computer science, and I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew that since I was going to get a comp sci degree, I would always have a job, which was very important for
Mm.
me. It was job security. And I was actually one of the requirements for my degree was taking a project management class. And I enjoyed the class so much. I did a lot of digging into the fields and what all it entail. And during that time, the job market was very scarce, and so I just applied for any job that I could that would lead me down a project management path. And I started at IoT Deployment Services as an intern. Uh, got an offer 2 hours after my interview, which I thought was completely unheard of.
Wow.
And I literally started from the ground up in the company as an intern, then a control technician who was remote with testing and verifications. And then I was an on-site technician, so I would actually go to job sites, be in ceilings, do deployments and programs, and then continued on with that. And about almost a year in March, my president of my company, he actually messaged me and said, "Hey, can you talk at 3?" And my first thought was, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting fired. Okay, cool.
Mm.
Let me start
Yeah,
updating my resume right
cool.
now." And I told him that on the phone call, and he laughed at me and he said, "No, not quite. We're actually putting together a new team, and we thought that you would be great because of your personality and how well you do explaining everything. So currently, I'm a solutions engineer at IoT Deployment Services. So I bridge the gap between sales and operations and end user on what they need."
Okay, so just dig into that
Yeah.
last bit. So you said solutions engineer.
Yes. Yes.
What does that mean? So you are talking to non-tech people about tech stuff in a way
Mhm.
that they can understand?
Yeah, so essentially I help end users or facilities or managers or operational people understand that their building needs some upgrades or some moderation, and to make everything easier for them, whether that's energy efficient or just making their everyday job easier. That's essentially my job, to help communicate their needs and their wants for their building operations.
Right. And what I should have led with this, sorry, what does IoT do? I don't think we have that company over here.
Yeah, yeah. So IoT Deployment Services, it's Internet of Things, is what it stands for, but we're just a smart building technology integrator. And
Right.
yeah, we help automate buildings.
So how long has that company been around? Because smart technology, if I understand
Mhm.
correctly, it's relatively recent.
Yeah, so this has been almost, I believe, 12, 13 years, I believe.
Well,
I
okay.
haven't been
Yeah.
at the company that long. It's been almost 3 years for me.
Yeah.
But it's honestly, it was something that I didn't expect to get into in any way, shape, or form. I never thought that I would be working in a smart building tech company.
Yeah, yeah.
And whenever I started, I had no idea what I was doing, anything in that jazz, or like being on a job site was absolutely terrifying for me, but it's something that I've come to thoroughly enjoy.
It's A bit similar to my own path because I didn't change my major. I had a double major, but I ended up dropping one of them. I was enrolled in an aeronautical engineering and computer science under the delusion that if I did aeronautical engineering, someday I'd be able to be a pilot. The careers advisor in year two, mind you, after I'd already slaved away for a year, I had glasses at the time. I'd since had laser surgery. He said, "Oh, if your eyesight is bad, there's no way that you'd be hired as a pilot." And so I was like, oh, well, could you have told me that before I signed up? And B, I'm not doing this anymore. And
Mhm.
so I dropped the aeronautical engineering and only did computer science. That was never the plan. But my first job was actually in IT as well. Um, when when you say that you're what does an everyday look look like for yourself?
Yeah, so right now my everyday looks a little different than what I used to do. It's very much so a lot of research about the end user, so different companies that I would be reaching out to and making a ton of cold calls, unfortunately. It's not my
Oh,
favorite,
okay.
but
Yeah.
let me tell you, whenever you get rejected on the phone, whenever you get rejected for something else, it makes it a lot easier. But essentially, that's what my everyday looks like right now. I'm on the track to being a project engineer down the line, which is very exciting. And that's very much so where my heart lies, where it's the technical aspect of how a building is put together and helping project engineers and the construction world, which again is not something that I ever imagined that I would say that, hey, I
Mm.
want to go into construction.
Did you feel in any way that you kind of, I mean, you kind of said this, you figured it out as you went? Like if I take you back to when you chose your major, I don't know
Yeah.
when you chose your major, but I think very often, at least here in Australia, you reach the end of school, you're 18, and you're like, oh crap, I need to actually pick a degree for a lot of people anyway, maybe less so today, but I need to pick a degree and that degree is somehow going to dictate what I do for the rest of my life, which from my experience at the age of 18, most people don't know what they want. I think in this day and age, even you could be 30, 40, 50 and still not what you want because there's so many evolving fields. But did you sort of figure it out? Did you have the end goal in mind? Because you already said you never pictured yourself. I'm just curious how you managed to end up where you are today.
I very much so think that like life throws obstacles at you and it helps you learn across the way. I have known that I've wanted to be an engineer in some way, shape, or form since my sophomore year of high school. That was always
Right.
my end goal is to be an engineer of some way. And really I had someone who was in our leadership at my current company and my second day at IoT as an intern, he pulled me aside and asked me what I wanted to do, what was my end goal, and, I told him I can't even remember what I told him at that point, but I remember specifically him telling me that if someone presents you with an opportunity to just say yes because you never know where it's gonna take you, and I've very much so taken life, like that, and as well
Yeah.
as something that my college coach told me was to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and I think
Yeah.
that's truly where we grow as individuals is by being uncomfortable or being comfortable in uncomfortable situations. So with all of this, I again always wanted to be an engineer. I just never knew exactly which type of engineering that I wanted to do. And with research and with actually doing it, that's how
Mm.
I feel I know what I do enjoy and what I don't. And that's how I figured out that I wanted to be a project engineer and working in construction.
I need to ask why you decided to be an engineer because unless something
Yeah.
has changed from my time in engineering, um, you would have been like 1 out of 30 or 40. And because you're blonde and a girl,
Yeah. Oh
everyone would
yeah.
have been staring at you like in the
Oh
computer
yeah.
labs. Everyone, I remember there
Oh
was one time
yeah.
there was a queue for a printer and a girl walked by and my best friend, he's not very good at height. He just like stared the whole time, like, can you be? But why decide, and has it changed at all since then? Because it used to be hugely male dominated. So
It still
why did
is.
you choose to be an engineer?
My dad was a software engineer and software architect whenever he retired, and my
Right.
mom's a nurse. I don't do needles or blood, and so that
Okay.
was very much so not going to be the path for me. But I've
Yeah.
always been really good with my hands and really good with technology, and I've just had a natural talent for figuring out how things work. And I remember coming out of my freshman year, going into my sophomore year of high school, talking to my advisor and saying, hey, like I want to do a class that I use my hands more or that makes
Mm.
me, challenge or I build things. And so uh they pushed me towards our technical education department and I started taking those classes, those engineering classes, and it was something that I truly felt that again, like I had a knack for. It was something that
Mm.
came very easily to me. And, it wasn't something that I truly struggled with a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that life should be is you should do things that you enjoy and that you're naturally good at. And so I knew that from then on, like that's what I wanted to do, something in some way, shape, or form that. But in terms of it being male dominated, I didn't realize till after I graduated college that I got a degree in the most male dominated degree in existence currently. And there's a reason why almost all of my best friends are male. It's the fact that I all work with them, but we're all naturally very close. My most of my classes in college, I was one of, if not the only female in my class, and they let me know it, let me tell you.
Yeah, as I say, most engineers are not known for their,
No,
let's say, being very polite or being very subtle.
no.
I do want to ask you more about what it was like going to a male-dominated field, but if
Oh.
I just back up for a sec, if there's someone watching, and I know there's a certain fear for young women going into, let's say, a STEM field, and there's a lot of good advocacy work being done now by people such as yourself, sort of leading the way and showing that women can kick butt in any field, which I think is amazing. Just in terms of the skill set or the mindset that's
Mhm.
required to do what you do, what do you think the most important skill sets are? And let me just tee this up for you. AI in Chat GPT form came out maybe 3, 4 years ago.
Mhm.
And I very quickly found that I was very good at getting it to do what I wanted to
Mhm.
do. But it was because, in many ways, this will sound a bit weird, I think like a computer. So when it comes to problem solving, people will see a very complicated problem. I immediately seem to know, and I'd never worked on this, which is why I'm asking you, maybe it's an innate talent,
Mhm.
what questions to ask and how to sequentially do it.
Mhm.
And I also remember back in programming, I'd be very good at setting up a program. I think it was back in C or Visual Basic or Java back in those days, but knowing how to put it into different blocks and then debugging if it wasn't working. My brain seemed, as I said, to think like a computer. And I really, really enjoy problem solving.
Mhm.
For me, problem solving, or as you said, solutions, coming up with a solution, it's almost like waving a red flag to a bull. And that's even what I found with pageant coaching is that if someone gives me a problem, I immediately have to find a way to solve it.
Mhm.
So I'm just curious if someone's looking to not only get into a STEM field like engineering, but to actually enjoy it and excel at it, what are some of the skill sets that you think you have that have enabled you to thrive in that field?
Determination, being very stubborn, let me tell you,
Okay.
that is probably, in my opinion, one of the most important ones is being stubborn and being unwilling to give up whenever it's something that you really, really care about. I also think of things very much so like yourself with problem solving. I think of things at multiple different angles and all at one
Yeah.
time. So if one thing doesn't work, then I already have a backup of how it's going to, something else that I'm going to try. So really just being curious and being determined
Yeah.
is two very important qualities that I think are whenever you're wanting to go into this field.
Do you think the ADHD might have actually helped with that
Oh,
in terms of
absolutely.
looking,
Oh,
yeah, from
absolutely. Oh,
multiple different
yeah.
angles?
Yeah. For the longest time, I actually thought it was a hindrance, but I've started to look at it more of a superpower.
Yeah.
With my community service initiative, I had some things last year around this time that didn't necessarily go my way. And so I already had a backup plan on how I was going to do the next
Yeah.
thing. And I think having ADHD definitely helps with that because most people would just give up, or whenever they get really
Yeah.
close to something, they would just give up because they're like, "Oh, well, it didn't work. So I just need to
Yeah.
do something else, or I need to just like not try again."
You mentioned being super stubborn.
Mhm.
Are there any stories that you can tell us about that demonstrate your said stubbornness? Do you remember the most stubborn moment of your life?
Oh, Oh gosh. Very much so whenever it comes to working with some of my coworkers, they have some very opinionated personalities is the
Yeah.
nicest way to put it. And so they like to say some things to me that make it seem that I'm a diversity hire whenever I have very much so proven time and time again that I'm not. And so that would probably be one of my most stubborn moments is proving time and time again that I am not a diversity hire, despite, obviously being a female in a very male dominated field. I've outlasted all of our other diversity hires if I actually was one. So,
Right. Okay. I've always said it's okay to be opinionated, but you just have to have the
hmm
right opinions. I mean,
exactly.
you're entitled to your opinion, but your opinion is wrong. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Tell me more about what it's like to be a pageant girl. That's the other side of you that we'll get to. But what's it like working in a male-dominated field as a young woman?
Oh gosh. So it's actually kind of scary. So like I've said before, I worked on job sites, and so my personal Instagram, I don't put my full name on there. And there's a reason for that. And whenever I'm on job sites, I don't use my full name. It's because a lot of individuals like to look me up on social media, and I've had quite a few incidences of that. Actually, someone from Canada found all my personal information and my personal social media and proceeded to stalk. And because he had a work number of mine, he would call me just to have chit chat with me at like 6:30 in the morning and would try to make it seem like it was for work and very quickly found out that it wasn't. And so in that aspect, and in today's day and age, you have to be very careful about the public information that you not only put
Mm,
on online, but also whenever, for myself, whenever I am a client facing position, I have to be really careful about the information that I spread. I don't tell people that I do pageants unless they work very closely with me and they're friends with me. So that's how they know. And I also don't use my real name. So I use a nickname. I use Maddie, which
mhm.
is very generic. And, there
Yeah.
are hundreds of thousands of, if not millions of Maddies in the entire world. So it's very hard to look me up. And I don't use my last name. So
I thought Canadians were supposed to be the nice people.
listen, I thought so too. And he is very nice. Let me tell you that. He is very
Okay.
nice. Just a little bit too nice. Little bit too nice.
So you managed to get yourself a Canadian stalker. All right. That's
Yes, yes.
what you keep going.
Nonetheless, actually, my very first time in Canada, it was Halloween, and there's popping sounds outside of my hotel, and so handguns are illegal in Canada, only hunting rifles are legal. And so I thought that Canadians just really, really liked Halloween, and I quickly
Yeah.
found out that was not the case as I opened my hotel window, or, the blinds, and there was fire trucks, police cars, ambulances at the two gas stations right next door, and I realized that there was a shooting, so I managed to find the one hotel that was next to a shooting in Canada where handguns are illegal. So
Okay. That's just bad. Like I think I've
yeah.
I don't think I've ever met a nasty Canadian. They're so. Well, I mean, you said your stalker or former stalker, I hope, was
Yeah.
polite. So that's something. Are there any benefits you feel to working in a male-dominated field? There's a
hmm
lot of drawbacks, obviously. I don't need to tell you that. Even
Yeah.
me, sort of working in that field previously, working with all these engineers, they're loud, they're boorish. I remember it's all, going on harbor cruises here at
Mhm.
Sydney Harbor, just drinking kegs of beer.
Mhm.
And I was like, don't you guys have anything better to do? So I can
Mhm.
understand that for a lot of women, they see that and go, I don't want anything to do with that. But I'm curious, what are the benefits or what are some of the things that you enjoy about working with your male colleagues?
I have a bunch of brothers that I definitely never wanted. I will say that, and they're very humbling, to say the least. So, you know, there's a lot of stigma with working in male-dominated fields, but having like true male friendships, and like I said, brothers I never wanted, and I say that in the most genuine, nicest way possible. They are very protective to say the least. And some of them do background checks on some of the guys that I go out with.
Good.
Yeah, so they're very protective. So it's really nice to have someone as a, I don't have brothers. I have step brothers, but they're in Kentucky, so they're very far away. And so to have individuals who are around me who care for me like a sibling is always very nice, and they're always extremely supportive. And for the most part, they say a lot nicer things about me than I say about myself, which is kind of shocking. So,
Yeah, that's that might be just your critic coming out to play.
oh,
How
yeah.
how do pageants come into the picture? What's the timeline?
Yeah, so my mom actually, before we started recording, my mom actually competed in the Miss America opportunity many years ago. And so I remember being in the basement with my sister, and we were looking at her trophies and everything, and I just never thought that that would be a part of my life. Like I mentioned a little bit before, with having ADHD, like I never thought that I was smart enough. I really just I never thought that anything that I was saying was important for other people to
Yeah.
hear. And so whenever I was in middle school, our county fair, they do a junior miss pageant, and I just took a whim. I didn't win anything in any way, shape, or form, so it didn't really affect me. But years later down the line, whenever I was going into my senior year of high school, someone messaged me and was like, "Hey, there's the miss pageant. Do you want to try it?" And I thought, you know what? Sure, why not? Like, worst case scenario, I lose, and
Yeah.
again, it's not going to affect me because I don't have much into it. And so I won, which was a shock to me. I think my mom cried a lot more than I did whenever she found out that I won. And she loves this, very much so, which we can dive into that a little bit, but it was never really in my cards to start pageants. I did it on a whim just because someone said, "Hey, give this a shot." And I'm very much so someone who I'll try anything once. And it really very much so took off from there. I met one of my best friends and my mentors through it. Her name's Anne Marie. She was my director. And she ran the pageant or the county pageant that I
Mm.
was got my first title in, and later on I became her second hand, becoming assistant director and then co-director, and then whenever she
Wow.
stepped
Okay.
down, I became executive director. We actually just finished our state county pageant yesterday, so which is
Nice.
very exciting. So I took her role in mentoring young women in the county fair system, and if it wasn't for her and her guidance, I wouldn't have continued to be a part of pageantry, whether that was mentorship, directorship,
Yeah.
or judging, or even competing in pageants nonetheless. So I have a lot to be thankful for.
What's it like being on the other side and being a director? I mean, obviously you've been on one
Yeah.
side being the competitor, being
Mhm.
a director, completely different. What was that like?
Mhm. It was really hard because I had to learn that I'm very much so very friendly and I can talk to
Mm.
anyone. And I had to learn that I need to know whenever to be an authority figure rather than a friend.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
probably one of the hardest parts. And then also wanting something for someone more than they want it themselves has also been really hard as
Yeah.
well. I'm sure as being a coach,
Yeah.
you can only do so much, and you can't make a girl want to be XYZ
Mm.
or want to do better in this category. They have to want to do it themselves. So that's been something I've had to navigate is how to guide them, not, with manipulation or anything, but guide them in the
Mm.
right direction, not so much in pageantry, but just in life in general, because with being a director, I understand that this is only 1 year of their life. It's going to be X amount of years of mine. But what I
Mm.
can do to help them is to give them skills and tool sets and resources that will help them far beyond their year as Miss
Yeah.
whatever. And that's very much so what I try to do, even with the contestants that compete in my organization as well.
Yeah. I feel like you can lead a camel to water, but you can't make it drink, sort
Exactly.
of thing.
Yes.
I find
Yes.
quite often it's not. Sometimes I feel, and I don't know if your experience mirrors this, but sometimes you can see someone's potential
Mhm.
more than they can,
Yeah.
but you can also see where they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
And it's not because of a failing of theirs, it's they have certain blind spots, and we all have our blind spots. Um, how has your directing journey been? And we'll go back to your
Mhm.
pageant journey, and you mentioned your mum, which I think is
Yeah.
an interesting dynamic having a mum
Mhm.
who competed before you.
Mhm.
But how long has your directing journey been so far?
Yeah, so I actually just finished up with my seventh queen yesterday. Yeah, seven. Yeah, it's crazy. I realized that this past week and I was like, wow, I've been up here for 7 years with seven different girls and all of them
Yeah.
different experiences and everything. So it's really fun. In my sense, because obviously I get to see more of them on the outside rather than what they can see for themselves. And
Yeah.
every single girl that I have either had at state or for the year or anything like that, I've been able to learn something from each and every single one of them, which I
Mm.
think is so cool. And it's something that I love doing, which is learning, but I can also take on different personality traits from them to help myself as not only a director, but as a person in general.
I didn't realize you've been doing it for 7 years.
Yeah,
I
it
thought
makes me feel
maybe,
really old.
well,
Let me tell
I was,
you.
I was going to say, if you started 7 years ago, have you ever
Yeah.
had the experience where your title holder has been older than you or very similar age to yourself?
Yes, yeah. So I started helping whenever I was 19. And our age range is 16 to 21. So I have had some girls who have been older than me. I think I've had one who has been older than me.
Right. What was
Yeah.
that like?
It was interesting to say the least.
Yeah.
I was just helping at that point, so I was just assisting where I could. But very much so since we were similar ages, it was what I talked about earlier, learning how to be an authority figure rather than a
Yeah.
friend. And I found that whenever you are closer to girls' ages, if you naturally click with them, you want to be their friend.
Yeah,
And
of course.
whenever it becomes an issue whenever you try to tell them what to do, and they're like, "Well, you're my friend. Why are you telling me what to do?"
Yeah. Yeah. It's sometimes hard to wear the different hats, and I think sometimes you need to
Yes. Mhm.
set boundaries. Is that something that you had to make specific rules for yourself, as in say this, don't say that,
Mhm.
or did you just kind of figure it out as you went?
Yeah, Anne Marie has been a great mentor for me, and I've learned a lot from her. And so that's where I had to learn how to set different boundaries of what
Mm.
I can and can't do. And that's something that I'm actually teaching other people to do currently right now. It's really hard because, like
Yeah.
we talked about, like you see things in these girls and you want something for them so bad. And for the most part, sometimes like those lines kind of mix whenever you're
Yeah.
trying to help guide them and it becomes more into a friendship rather than an authoritative figure. And so trying to manage and guide that has it's been a learning process. I've
Sure.
learned a lot of patience, and I'm very much so someone of faith, and so I believe that that is the biggest lesson that God has been trying to teach me is patience, and He's shown me that in a lot of different ways, whether that's with snowboarding, golf, with my job, or with being a mentor, or in pageants, which we'll get into here soon. Patience is definitely something that I it's a learning process, let me tell you.
Well, if God's trying to give you trials and He gave you
Yeah.
ADHD, and then your test is
Yeah.
patience, I mean, never say God doesn't have a sense of humor. But
Oh, no
let's
kidding.
circle back to what is the saying? If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yeah.
I just think that's the most apt saying. After the year I had
Mhm.
last year, I don't know what your
Mhm.
2025 was like, but the ups and downs, I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
I see you. You're having a good
Oh,
laugh.
yeah.
Have fun up there.
Yeah.
What's it like having a mum and like you're competing in the
Mhm.
same title that she held
Yeah.
35 years later?
Mhm.
I mean, first off, is the title anything like what it was 35 years ago?
No. That's actually one of the really cool parts about having my mom, having also compete for the Miss America opportunity is she got to tell me everything that happened, whenever she was competing, which is so
Yeah,
cool. And there's a lot of things that have changed, obviously, in the organization. And so it's really cool to hear about all the things that used to happen, within the organization and then seeing to where it's now. And that's kind of
yeah,
probably my plan. for way beyond being a local title holder, but as Miss Illinois, is to try and help implicate some of those more traditional aspects. Like we used to do a USO tour with local title holders. So select local title holders got to tour throughout the state of Illinois for the USO, which
Mm.
is a part of our military, which got to perform, whether that was singing or playing an instrument. And I think that's a very fun way to incorporate local title holders and their talent. But having a mom who previously competed in this organization is interesting to say the least because we go somewhere and she knows more people than I do. And she gets to tell people stories and show them pictures about what it was like whenever she competed. So she gets to also share part of that aspect, and I get to do it too whenever I get to brag about my mom. But it's fun because of the fact that, she cares so much about me being successful and the organization being successful, and she got reconnected with two of her friends that she made through pageantry from me
Oh,
starting to compete in
yeah.
pageants, which is cool. She actually sent me on Friday night, her and her pageant friends, they were helping out at a local, and they had a PG party, and then also was taking pictures with my friends who are also title holders. And I was like, Mom, what the heck? Like, I have so much
She's
FOMO
stealing
right
your
now.
friends.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking. She took a friend with, you previously interviewed her, Nicole. She's literally my best
Oh
friend,
yeah. Yeah.
and took photos with her. And I was like, Mom, you're stealing my best friend. And they sat next to each other during the pageant too. And I was like, "Ugh, I know that those two are probably not behaving very well, but
Are you worried that she's going to be cooler than you are?
oh, she already is. What are you talking about? She already is cooler than I am.
I mean, Nicole's pretty cool as well. Just
Yes.
don't bring any snakes around her. That's the one
Ugh.
thing that I
Oh
remember
my
about
gosh,
her. Don't.
yes. I mean, it's funny because I don't mind picking up snakes and we're best friends. And like I have a photo of whenever I was a county fair queen at our convention, like our county fair convention, and they had a python, and I have a photo of me holding one, and it's one of my very favorite from the week. But I know that Nicole doesn't like snakes, but if someone had a snake, I would 1,000% hold it.
It's weird because I was messaging one of my friends the other day,
Hmm.
and I said I just had to throw a spider out because over
Hmm.
here in Australia we
Hmm.
have not
Big
tarantulas,
spiders.
huntsmans. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're big, but they're completely harmless.
Hmm.
But they're a very important part of the ecosystem. I mean, I remember
Yes.
talking to
Hmm.
Nicole about the importance of hunters and how they look
Hmm.
after the land. A lot of
Hmm.
people think, oh, hunters equal bad. And I'm like, no, no, no. These people look after the land
Mm-mm.
more than anyone else. But I'm the
Correct.
same way with spiders. I'm like, I don't want to kill it. So I,
Mhm,
I caught it and I threw it outside.
mhm,
And then my American friend saw, I think, a story I posted up, and she said,
mhm,
like, are you crazy? Like, she had a very visceral
mhm,
reaction
mhm.
to me handling a spider. So I don't know if it's an American thing. I don't think it's an American thing.
We
But
have so brown recluses are like very common in the Midwest, which
right.
they are very deadly, and they love to hide out in dark corners and crevices.
Nice.
So I personally, I do kill brown recluses, or I should
Sure.
So, just because 'cause they're a little dangerous, but whenever it comes to growing up, like daddy long legs, the really
Yeah.
long, legged spiders, I'll handle those every single day. I don't care about
Yeah.
those ones, but the ones that could potentially kill me,
Well,
I
that's
do.
that's fair
Uh,
enough. If,
yeah, it's
if
fair.
it's if it's a matter of life or death.
Right.
Um, your mum is a pageant queen. You already
Mhm.
said she's cooler than you and
Yeah.
stealing all your friends,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
funny. You said your dad is was a former software engineer, and
Yeah.
obviously your career. I'm just
Mhm.
trying to get this straight in my head. Your career is over there with the
Mhm.
working with things very much,
Yes. Mhm.
and your mum is a nurse. It's
Yeah.
all about people. And yes, there's some crossover. You can look at a
Mhm.
human body as a sort of machine. And in IT, there's also the people facing aspect
Mhm.
of it. But it seems to me like you have one conversation with your dad
Mhm.
about, you could have anyway, about your work. And then when it comes to pageants, you speak completely to your mum. It sounds
Yeah.
like you would have had the best of both worlds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is nice because of the fact that I think my dad was really excited whenever I changed my major, because my sister, she she is a hairstylist, so completely different than both
Okay.
my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
But so my dad can actually talk with me about these technological things and everything, so he can talk about that, which I think he was really excited for. I also think that he secretly always wanted a son, and I just kind of
Son.
filled
Yep.
that void for him,
Yep.
because I was very much so a tomboy growing up. I climbed trees, I played in the dirt, I chased my sister around with frogs, so very much so a tomboy, and naturally taking on a passion and a talent that he has, I think he was really excited for.
Is there any crossover? Does your dad get pageants? Does your mum get software engineering or engineering?
My mom is very technologically challenged. My dad doesn't understand pageants in any way, shape, or form. He's slowly understanding it and supporting it, but at first he was like, why are you doing this? I competed and won my first local title actually in Chicago, and a comment that he made to me was, "You're from Southern Illinois. Why are you going to compete in Chicago?" Because if you don't know, there is a big um like detriment between Southern Illinois and Chicago. It's almost
Oh,
like it's like for us here, like hockey is a big thing. So
yeah.
or baseball. So it's almost like I'm a Blues fan, which I may
Okay.
have to convert because I haven't been playing very well. But being a Blues fan versus a Blackhawk fan, that's essentially like the difference that we have right now. It's a rivalry
Okay.
between the states.
All right. But I mean, you said you're stubborn, so you have to remain loyal
Yeah,
even if your team
exactly.
sucks, right? I mean, you
Maybe. It's the same with the Cardinals, though. They have not been playing very good. So I may just jump ship and become a Cubs fan. My grandpa is very much so, or he was, fortunately he passed away, but he was a huge Cubs fan. So I may just have to jump on that train.
you're probably not old enough to tell me this, but I watched The Last Dance, a Michael
Mhm,
Jordan documentary,
mhm,
and I remember him talking about how, because he played for the Chicago Bulls pretty
mhm,
much, well, almost all of his competitive
mhm,
life. And I just remember seeing how much of the city of Chicago would come out whenever they won one of their championships. And you'd see probably 30, 40,000 people just gathered. I don't know, it's a park or something. And I've actually been in that park because I went on a march in
mhm.
that park. That's a different story. But in terms of the area that you're at, what are the big sports? You said hockey. What
Hockey
are
and
the, and by the way,
baseball.
is ice hockey, right?
Yes, yes, ice
Okay.
hockey,
Gotcha.
yes.
Yeah.
And then also baseball is it too. We also have in St. Louis at least City of St. Louis soccer, which I believe is football
Oh,
for you
well,
guys.
either
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, so but soccer is also something that's very much so becoming more prominent in this area. But because St. Louis, we don't have a football team anymore, like an American football team. That's a whole big discrepancy. Essentially, like our football team made a big stadium and everything, and then the owner decided to jump ship to LA. Or yes, Los Angeles, yes, Los Angeles Rams. It's a huge deal. But so in Chicago, actually last weekend, whenever I was there, the night before, one of my little mentorees, little sisters that I basically adopted, competed for a title in Chicago. The Chicago Bears won the football game. And so people were up until 2 a.m. honking their horns, yelling and everything in the street. And our AC wasn't working in our hotel and it was extremely, extremely hot. Like it was 80 degrees. So we had to crack the window open and it was 20 degrees outside and snowing. So we heard everything the entire time.
Wow. Okay.
Um,
I mean, so the fans are pretty loud when they win. Are they
oh
loud when they
yeah.
lose?
I can't really say. I think if it's really, really important, I will say last year, the Blues were in the playoffs for the Stanley Cup, which is a huge deal, and we lost in the last 5 seconds, and that was very
Oh,
heartbreaking. Yeah, it was
right,
very, very heartbreaking. And so we didn't talk about hockey for a while, I will say.
right. I remember when I was in Milwaukee. I think my friend took me to see. There was some game playing
Hmm.
on the TV, and it was in a pub in a bar,
Hmm.
and you could just tell whenever something went really well, there was a lot of cheering. Whenever someone something went really badly, you heard all this booing. But I thought that
Yeah.
the interesting thing was, like, when your team wins, it's we won.
Yeah.
But when your
Mhm.
team loses, it's they
They
lost.
they lost. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's
Mhm.
not we lost, it's we
Mhm.
won. It's like you're
Yeah.
sitting in the bar, you haven't done anything, but somehow it's we won,
Mhm.
but it's they lost. I thought that was interesting mental gymnastics. You said you're competing for your pageant on Valentine's Day. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, so my judges will be my Valentine's Day date. I'm very excited for it. I hope they dress up for the occasion.
Well, I hope you dress up for the occasion too. I mean,
I
you are in a
will.
pageant.
Yes, I
Um,
will. I will not be in a sweater during that time.
what what is it? What are the emotions like for yourself getting ready for a pageant? Obviously, it has a personal
Mm.
connection for yourself with your
Yeah.
mum, but you strike me as someone. First off, we talked about pressure, and you
Mhm.
actually perform better under pressure, which I
Mhm.
think is a huge advantage in
Mhm.
many fields, but no more so than in the pageant field.
Mhm.
And you seem to me like nothing would really phase you anyway.
Yeah.
And so you're going into this thing. Are you pretty level-headed?
Yes and no. So I was first runner-up at Miss Illinois. So, and actually, whenever I was at our state county pageant this past weekend,
Mm,
very much so the hot topic was, oh my gosh, we loved watching you compete. What are you doing next? Are you coming back? And so it kind of like very much so gave me a sense of gratification that
mm.
other people look to me and they look to see what I'm
Yeah,
doing next. Means I'm doing something right, not only in pageant world, but I think more so
in
in like
life.
mentorship. Yeah, mentorship wise, which I care way more about.
Mm,
Is that and how people feel whenever they are around me rather than my placement. But, I gave up my title, my local title in October, and I had this time to just be Madalena, which was so nice. And I got to tell people that. It was like, "Oh, I'm just so excited to be just Madalena and just figure it out." I mean, without having someone to tell me what to do or what I could and couldn't wear or how I couldn't do my makeup or anything like that. I
yeah.
discovered a lot about myself. I mean, I chopped 5 inches off my hair, found out I don't like short hair on myself. I went back to my natural color and I feel a lot more confident in myself. And, I think that that's very much so something that a lot of other young women should do is to just trust themselves and who they're meant to be and not, I mean, as someone who is a director, like I'm meant to be there to guide you to be your best possible self. But sometimes people do it selfishly or to do
Yes.
it
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
way that makes them look better or to
Yep,
copy someone else, which I don't think that
yep.
that should be what pageantry should be about. We should be helping young women be truly and fearlessly authentically themselves and helping mold that and giving them the confidence to do that and giving them the space to do that. And so
Mm,
really, like, prepping for this pageant, that's what I've been focusing on, is to just figure out who I am and what I wanna do and what I wanna promote with this
yeah,
organization, and so, of course, it's terrifying because this is the very last local, of this entire season, so if I don't win
right.
a title, then I'm kind of, like, out of luck in that sense unless I
Mm,
decide to pay for an at-large title, which, I'm trying to speak it into existence and hoping
sure.
that, that I carry on my mom's legacy, but it's kind of frightening because other people are scared for me in a sense of, well, what if you don't make
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Or
yeah,
what if you don't get it? And I'm
yeah.
thinking, oh, well, I'm gonna get it. Of course I
Mm,
am. Like my mom was Miss Southern Illinois and all these other things, and very much so like how we talked about earlier. That, like I'm someone of faith and I very much so trust in God's plan and
mm,
with patience in that. And whenever it popped up on my timeline that 6 years ago I competed in my first local and it happened to be Miss Southern Illinois, I kind of took that as a sign of, hey, like, it just wasn't your time yet. And this would
mm,
just be such a great way to kind of round out my experience in the Miss America opportunity as I prepare for Miss Illinois further down the line.
of course. I mean,
Um,
you never know. We never know what God has in store for
yeah.
us. I mean,
Mhm.
you already said that you were first runner up, and
Mhm.
sometimes that's almost the cruelest blow of all. It's like you were that
Mhm.
close. But
Yeah.
can I just take you back to your opportunity to sort of be yourself
Mhm.
that you said?
Yeah.
And I often hear, because I've spoken to so many pageant girls, our directors have told me, I need to go blonde when you're brunette.
Mhm.
Oh, wear this makeup, don't wear that makeup, wear this dress, don't wear this dress. And I don't know about you, but whenever I hear that, I understand that you want someone to present well, don't get me wrong, right? You're a title holder, you need to be aspirational, inspirational in that sense. But I think a director's role is, and you've had this from both sides, so I'd be fascinated to hear your insight. I think a director's role should be to help the title holder grow into the best version of herself
Yeah.
that she can be, not convert you into my minion, which is when I hear those conversations. And look, I'm a guy, what do I know? But you won't have a chance if you're brunette. Like, you got to cut your hair, you got to have longer hair. It's like, what are you talking about? Because I thought pageantry was supposed to be about who you are,
Yeah.
not what you look like. And when I first heard that, I bought into it. But then I heard, but you need to lose weight. It was like, well, hang on. I get being in shape as a tennis coach is hugely important. But I thought you said it's not about how you look. Yet all your advice for your title holder is based on her physical appearance. It's nothing to do with her advocacy, how she speaks, what opportunities excite her, her direction for the future. So you mentioned that it was great just to be yourself. I mean, what did it feel like when you sort of had to conform in a way?
To be completely frank and blunt and honest, like during my week competing for Miss Illinois, it was really, really tough for me. And I actually, thankfully, almost in a sense, right after we had onstage question before talent, I came to realize that I wasn't having fun.
Yeah,
And I had like a small little, like, of course, like emotions are high and everything. I cried a little
of
bit because I
course.
was like, this isn't
Yeah,
fun. Like, what am I doing here?
yeah, yeah,
And, and I realized that I had lost myself and I was so out of tune with who I was wanting to be in this organization that it made it
yeah,
so unenjoyable. And I'm thankful for that moment where I realized, like, this isn't
yeah,
who I want to be. This isn't the title holder that I want to be, the competitor that I want to be. I don't want to be the person who sits off in the sideline and doesn't talk to anyone else because I had someone else tell me not to do so, or
mm,
decide to do my hair a certain way because someone else said that, like, hey, like this is how it needs to be, or any of that sort. I think something that I've definitely learned with being in the Miss America opportunity, and something that is very evident, as Cassie Donegan is our current Miss America, and we have Tess Fern, who they are both very much so, again,
mm,
fearlessly and authentically themselves, and they're very unapologetic from it. So I think if anyone can learn anything from those two, it's that in order to be not only successful in pageantry, but in life, it's to choose to be yourself.
yeah,
And that is something that I have been very much so pushing towards young women, is to do that, is in, like, with community service initiative or anything like that, is to think about yourself in a sense of, hey, what would I need? What would I like? Is this going to be fun for me? Is this not going to be
mm,
fun for me? How is this going to advance me? Because again, like at the end of the day, this is about you and how you and the person who you are going to be in the future, a thousand
mm,
percent. It's not about that Sally Q coached you to do XYZ and she's still taking credit for it, or the fact that, Susie May did your hair for a certain event, and it looks really good. It's about, again, like what I said before, I care way more about how I make other people feel rather
mm,
than anything else that I do, because at the end of the day, that's what they're going to remember. Not only the judges, but the people who I interact with every single day. That's what they're going to remember, is how I made them feel, rather than what I was wearing that day, or how my hair looked, or if I had
yeah.
one wonky eyebrow or something like that.
Yeah, I do find that aspect of pageantry personally to be quite
Mhm.
exhausting because I really have no interest in this. I
Mhm.
started my whole pageant journey because I was under the, idea that what I wanted to do was help women tell their stories and I
Yeah.
would uncover amazing stories. And I've done that. And then specifically to what you said about, for example, coaches claiming credit, or this whole idea that you need to know the right people, you need to
Mhm.
tag them, and
Mhm.
then somehow you'll be so famous that you have to
Mhm.
win. I just have no, honestly, if it's like that, then I don't have any interest in that system. Um,
Yeah.
when it comes to, I mean, you said that you took a bit of time off to sort of rediscover
Yeah.
who you were, and you
Mhm.
mentioned those title holders like Cassie Donegan. I often feel that people like that who really break ground,
Mhm.
they've done so despite of pageantry. And sometimes pageantry has given them the skills, but they needed to sometimes it helps, if I'm making sense, to be a bit raw,
Mhm.
because then you've had less time to be inculcated. And I
Mhm.
say this, I say this constantly: the best way to succeed in pageantry is to create an amazing life outside of it. The
Yeah.
idea behind that is you go and have life experience, and then you bring that to pageants rather than just staying in pageant, competing, but you never have any life experiences, good or bad, and you're always the same person. Maybe you just walk a bit better or you speak a bit more articulately. But I think bringing your life experience to the pageant is it's probably the most important thing. And I just want to get your thoughts on this because you said already that the part that you love the most is the mentorship
Mhm.
or how people look up to you and are interested in what you're doing next. And I have to think that a lot of that is not simply because of how you look, but it's because of who you bring to the table.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely this year, after I got first runner up, I being a part of the county fair system, it's nice because people know me from that. And
Mm,
actually this year I had so many past county fair queens reach out to me saying, "Hey, I know you're a part of the county fair system, and now you compete in the Miss America opportunity. Um, I'm such and such county. How can I get started?" And I get to help them
yeah.
along the process, which is really cool. I've actually had one of the girls who I mentor a lot. Her name's Landry Shine. I love her so much. She actually came from my pageant, so she was my junior miss, or
Yeah.
one of my junior misses a couple years ago, and I took her across the river to Missouri volunteer pageant, and her mom got hooked, and they wanted to go straight to nationals. And I was like, okay, hold on, let's slow down. Let's get you into the Miss America opportunity. Let's get you a
Yeah.
local first. Let's see how you do there. And oh my gosh, she's 16 and she dresses better than I do. And it's absolutely insane. Um, this little 16-year-old, I honestly like I met her whenever about 4 years ago, so whenever she was 12, and just to think of the young girl who I first met to the person who she's bloomed into today, it honestly, it makes me emotional. A
Mhm.
couple of weeks ago, they were trying on dresses, for Miss Illinois, and I just got teary-eyed because of the fact that, like, I just remember the little girl who
Yeah.
first started in my county pageant, and then now she's, like, blossomed into this, like, incredible young woman, and I'm gonna get teary-eyed again, just because, like, it just makes me so emotional because I have the ability to help young women, at all aspects of life, and that's one of my favorites is to help them find themselves and to be a mentor and be such an encouragement for them. She actually told me that she talks about me in her interview whenever they asked her how she get started in the Miss America opportunity. And of course I
Yeah.
started crying again because of that. But she's like a little sister, and I already have a little sister, but like we're 3 years apart, so I don't really count that. We're basically the same age at that point. So I've never had like a true like younger sister who I actually get to help them go
Mm.
through life. And so being a part of the Miss America opportunity gives me that opportunity to do so.
Right. I mean, look, you've already said that your mum is cooler than you, and now
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
saying that your little pageant sister dresses better than you ever did
Yeah.
at the age of 16. But I have to say, if someone like that is mentioning you in her interview,
Yeah.
obviously there's something that you're doing right.
Yeah.
What do you think it is that you're doing right that makes women such as that, who you said are amazing,
Yeah.
they must look at you in a similar way. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about you in interview. What is it that you think you're doing that makes these young women look up to you?
I have a knack for really picking out girls' fullest potentials or qualities that really shine in them. And so I am very much so someone who I love to speak positivity into other people who I'm
Mm,
around. And so if I notice something, then I'm there to let them know and tell them that. And I take this trait from my mom, who also is very much so someone who has words of encouragement and very much so a comforting person. So in times of distress or anything like that, and I took on that trait. And so, you
mm.
know, and I truly think that stories are the best way for other people to learn. And so telling my story or helping them tell their story is definitely something that I love to do, is to help other people.
Do you know if there are particular qualities that you look for when you mentioned that you see someone's potential.
Yeah.
Do you know if there's something in particular that you're looking for, or is it just a feeling, a vibe?
I would definitely say it's more so a feeling or a vibe. A lot of the girls that I interact with, they don't normally know their potential. And so a lot of
Mm,
it is more so, I wouldn't say like self-confidence, but it's more so the fact that they don't have someone who's like, not their mom or their dad who's telling them that they're awesome. And sometimes it takes
yeah.
someone else to tell them that continuously for them to actually believe it. I mean, I'm someone very much so like that as well. And that's how I became more successful as I had other people who looked up to me or who
Mm.
became really good friends with me. And again, the brothers I never wanted humbling me, but then also, speaking way better about myself than or speaking way better about me than I do myself. And that's something that has definitely helped a lot.
Those brothers that you never wanted, I just have to ask. I
Hmm.
know that you keep your two lives separate,
Yeah.
but are any of the
Hmm.
brothers going? Do they know that you're competing in a pageant? Will they be in the
Yeah,
audience?
they will not be in the audience, I will tell you that much, but they know I'm competing and they do not understand it in any way, shape, or form. They're like, "So you're doing what?" And I'm like, "I'm competing in a pageant." And they're like, "Okay, for what purpose?" And I'm like, "Oh, like mentorship, scholarship opportunities." And they're like, "You graduated. Why do you need scholarship money?" And I'm like, "Well, I can use some of it for loans, or if I decide to get my master's." And they're like, okay, why can't you just apply for a scholarship without doing all this extra stuff? And I'm like, it's because it's because I really just want to be in a dress, okay? Like let's be honest. Like
The
really
two, the two finalists.
yeah, it's like really I just want fire Instagram photos. Like let's be real.
I take it you don't really get to wear couture
No.
gowns and heels in your daily work.
No, not in any way, shape, or form. Nope, nope, nope. I it's funny enough because jeans that I brought this weekend to Pageant Land were my work jeans, which are men's jeans, because they don't make comfortable and durable women's jeans that are affordable. And so I wear men's jeans on job sites. Yeah. And I figured
That's
that out because I could stick my entire hand in the pocket, in the front pocket. Yeah.
I mean, let's not talk about fashion too much because I really don't know what I'm talking about. But I do often wonder because I don't fit in men's jeans because of my build. I'm a
Hmm.
tennis player, so my bum is big and my legs are
Yeah.
big, and
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
if it fits around my waist, I can't pull them up. They get stuck. I
Hmm.
literally got stuck
Yeah.
in a changing room. I couldn't
Same.
get out of my jeans.
Hmm.
But I will say I've never understood how you can go around without pockets. Like the number of women's activewear, fitwear, it's like it looks
Hmm.
great, but you got your keys when you go to the gym.
Hmm.
Where you're like, where do you put everything? So
Right.
I just
Hmm.
carry it around.
Hmm.
No, like, I just
Yeah.
that drives me crazy.
Hmm. That's why belt bags are a big thing. Whenever Lulu came out with that, that was probably the most genius thing that they ever could have done. I just put all my stuff in there and I could just bring it around.
Or you could just get pockets.
Well, yeah, that too, but that
I
would
mean, I
require a conversation with some fashion designers to make bigger pockets for us. Or you just get a man that has pockets so that you can put all their stuff, like your stuff in their pockets.
yes, yes, and then at that
Yeah.
point you become the pack mule for your partner, which
Exactly.
is
I don't
here.
have
Can
to
you
worry
carry
about
all
that right
this?
now. So
Sure, dear. All right, well, you got to carry all your own stuff then anyway. Um, what part are you most excited about competing in the pageant? I mean, you've had such a plethora of
yeah.
different pageant experiences. At this point, what are you most looking forward to?
Oh, so I was a musical theater kid growing up, and
Right.
and I also did dance. Conveniently enough, I did it for about 9 years, and then in middle school, I didn't make my dance team, and so then I switched to cheerleading. But I love performing in every way, shape, or form, and singing has been a huge part of my life for so long, and so I'm really excited to sing again and then perform. I have been told that I have such a stage presence, and I very much so thoroughly enjoy being on stage and showing my stuff, as one could say, but it's what I'm most looking forward to is being on stage and performing and having the audience feel whatever I'm feeling.
What are your favorite sort of songs to
Mhm.
perform?
I love jazz. Not a lot of people like jazz, but I love jazz and then also rock as well. I have my past talent for this past year was Dream On, but it was jazzy. So it was Dream On by Aerosmith, a jazz
Yeah,
version of it. Yeah.
I would be fascinated to hear that
Oh,
because
I can send it to you.
I have a classical music
Mhm.
background, and
Yes.
I never really understood jazz. I
Mhm.
still to this day don't. And I'm no good at it because this idea that you need to improvise and that it's all
Mhm.
about sort of the
Mhm.
reaction of the audience. It's a very
Yeah.
much reciprocal, like a good
Mhm.
jazz performance. And I've seen
Mhm.
some very good jazz performers.
Mhm.
It's reciprocal in a way that a classical performance is not. Classical performance is, and I performed in the Sydney Opera
Mhm.
House here,
Yeah.
so I know what that's like. You get on the
Mhm.
stage, you can't see anyone. It's very stiff. You're not allowed to cough. You can
Mhm.
only clap at certain times, and if you clap
Mhm.
at the wrong time, everyone stares at you. But
It's
you
like on
go
an
there, you do
airplane,
your.
basically.
It's worse. It's worse. With classical performances, in between movements of a piece,
Mhm.
you're not supposed to clap. But there's always someone in the public who doesn't know or had a really
Mhm.
visceral experience. So they're like this, and then they realize they're the only person clapping, and everyone stares at them, and they're like,
Mhm.
oh. Whereas jazz, it didn't seem to have those barriers to
Mhm.
entry. But then rock, I mean, Dream On is an anthem, it's anthemic.
Mhm.
Everyone knows that song.
Yeah.
You turned it into jazz. How
Yeah.
did you manage to do that?
So I work with Bill Wolf. And so somehow, some way, I've worked with him for almost 4 years now. And so he very much so knows my taste in music.
Yeah.
It's always something different, always jazzy feel, or just something that is unique. And I was kind of just browsing around on his website, and he told me about this piece that was a jazz version of Dream On, and I listened to it and I
Uh,
absolutely fell in love with it, and we got to play around with it a little bit, and it's arguably been one of my favorite pieces that I've ever sang. And trying to top it is has and will be very, very hard, to say the least.
but I bet you've enjoyed the challenge.
The piece that I'm singing coming up is something that I love, and I have been enjoying finding different ways to make it different than what other girls have been singing. So I'm not going to share it yet, but I'm very excited
I
for
know.
what I'm pulling out at Miss Southern Illinois.
Yeah, no, I know. I can't ask about any of these things. I
Yeah,
can't ask about the dress. I can't ask about the
yeah.
talent because these are all closely guarded
Hmm.
state secrets. I still haven't quite figured out why. I mean, I know you guys like to keep the audience in suspense, but it's like you're still going to perform
Mhm.
anyway. But
Yeah,
I need to see that recording of the jazz
yeah,
version of Dream On.
absolutely. Yeah.
I will say because I was at Miss Volunteer last year, Miss Volunteer America,
Hmm.
and Miss Maryland Brooke Nixon. She performed Dream On, but she did the drum solo.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I had no idea. We interviewed for over an hour. She never
Hmm.
mentioned she was doing drums as her talent.
Hmm.
And then I remember sitting in the audience and going, "Who's that walking on? Is that Brooke?" And then it's like, "Dream On." Hang on, she plays the drums. Like what? What?
Yeah.
And then she's rocking out to this. That's one of the great things. That's what I love about pageants. Is it gives you a chance to maybe display facets of your personality
Yeah.
that you don't normally get to.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of it sometimes is you guys, frankly, love being on stage. I mean, you
Yeah.
said that you have that stage. You said you had people say you had the stage presence, but you were a theater kid growing up. It's like
Yeah.
you guys just love being on stage and having your
Yeah.
moment, no matter
Mhm.
how dry or how logical
Mhm.
your occupation might be,
Mhm.
lawyer, engineer,
Yeah.
coder, whatever it is.
Mhm.
But then it's a different facet of your personality comes out on stage.
Yeah, it's truly talent portion is where I can show a lot more of my personality and who I am. Interview, I have that opportunity as well. Typically, it's a little bit more serious because they have very similar questions that you do. It's like, you're a pageant girl in a male-dominated field. Why? Why did you decide to do this as a blonde, like a blonde girl with blue eyes? And I like, have similar conversations every single time, but I've been told I'm very serious in interviews, which is funny because my friends could tell you that I'm not that. So being able to showcase more of my fun personality and talent is great. And showing a little bit about my past too, because I grew up listening to rock and roll in the back of my dad's car, and my first MP3 player, that's what he loaded it up with. That was kind of the deal. The only songs that were on my MP3 player was ones that he listened to. So
Were there any particular, did he have any particular favorite songs?
honestly, I couldn't remember. It was really just anything rock, or is it called EDM, I think? It was like
EDM, yeah,
Def Ma 5, Def Mouse 5, something like that, in
the Deaf
that
Mouse.
way.
Okay.
So I don't know.
I don't know.
I stuck more to the
It-
rock than I did like the electronic stuff. So,
yeah, yeah. And someone guessed that I love that sort of music, and I didn't know what it was. I had to look it up, and then my first response was, "Why? Why do you think I like this music? I don't understand it at all. It just sounds like someone falling down a staircase
yeah.
holding a bunch of drums." Um, you in the bio that I read out
Mhm.
quite a long time ago,
Mhm.
you mentioned that your advocacy, I believe it was called Empower Her.
Yes, empower in STEM. Yeah. Mhm.
Can you just tell us more about that?
Yeah, so like I said before, I was a sophomore in high school whenever I started getting into more engineering classes and an engineering field, male dominated everything. And as I went through trying to get to that career path, I realized that there were not a lot of support or resources for young women who are pursuing STEM fields or male dominated fields. And so whenever I started competing, in the Miss America opportunity, well, even before that, I talked about being a woman in a male-dominated field and all
Mm,
the issues that I would have to go through or would struggle through. And so from that, I decided to make it a mission and a passion of mine to one, talk about the things that was happening to me and being very transparent about it. Because I think stories are important. That's how other people learn. But then also finding tools and resources and putting it all in one place for young women so that it's easy
mm,
access for them. Like very much so whenever I talk with other young girls who are getting started in the organization, I tell them the same thing that I tell myself is what would I have wanted at that age or what
yeah,
would I have liked? And that's how I have been able to build and develop my community service initiative. And I
yeah.
actually just did a subset of it called Empower After. It's to help with women who are surviving domestic violence or abuse situations. And I just did a clothing drive in October, and I had people donate over 22 bags of clothing, and I was able
Wow.
to
Right.
donate that to the St. Louis Women's Safe House, which was awesome in the sense that people brought all of that together. And whenever I dropped it off, actually, I just had such a sense of gratitude for the
Mm,
sense that other people believed in my mission so that I could
yeah.
pour into something that was really important to me.
Yeah. 22 bags is a lot of.
Yeah, it's
That's a lot.
oh, well, it filled my car, let me tell you. I had stuff in my front seat and I drive a Nissan Kick, so it's not very wide in terms of like front to back. And so it was full. It was full. I could not have another passenger. That's a
You're
fact.
lucky you were able to see through the windows at all. 22 bags. How did you manage to
Yeah.
get the word out about that?
So I had a great partnership with a local gym. The owner's name is Travis. He owns Alpha's Gym, and I had previously done the national anthem for him for
Oh, wow.
this
Wow.
boxing fundraiser event. And he's been so awesome and so great. And so I reached out to him and I was like, "Hey, I'm wanting to do this business clothing drive for young women, so that they can start their professional careers after,
Mm,
being in an unsafe situation, can I set up a donation box at your gym?" And he
yeah.
set up donation boxes at both of the locations and spread the word for me. And people were just, I guess, very generous in October.
Yeah.
And I even had people reaching out to me after the fact and saying, "Hey, are you still taking clothing?" And I do live at my parents' house, and so all the clothes that I donated was in our basement bathroom because I didn't want to move it upstairs. And it was full, and
22 bags,
oh yeah, I got in trouble for
as you should.
the clothing being housed there for
Yeah.
a while. So I had to stop taking donations.
I think you did pretty well, though. 22
Yeah.
bags is a
Yeah.
lot.
Well, yeah. Well, I plan to do more, but I need to find a better location to store them or just
You may need
directly
to
take them.
rent out a storehouse so you don't
Yeah.
get kicked out of your
Yeah.
parents'
Hmm.
house.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool. That's one of the best parts about
Hmm.
pageantry
Yeah.
is the network of people
Hmm.
that you make, because you do these things that you probably wouldn't ever do by yourself because you're too
Hmm.
busy with life.
Yeah.
But that connection, that network of people you make, especially in your local community, I
Hmm.
think that win or lose, that's something you can hold on to for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
We've been on for a minute. So just before we move to the
Yeah.
final 10 questions, is there anyone that you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to for supporting you along your
Oh
journey?
gosh, Nicole Taylor, obviously, she's one of my Best friends in pageantry. We met before we both had local titles, and we instantly connect. She lives 2 hours away, so we make it work. And I think that that's one of the great things about being in pageantry. And then Anne Marie Mangialardi, that was the director who I had, my mentor. So those are two people who I definitely want to give shout outs to.
I'm surprised you gave Nicole a shout out, given that she's stolen your mum.
No, we share mom. Like my mom basically adopted her at this point. Although she did get in trouble because she ate my stepdad's muffin and used his cup. So yeah, she's definitely a part of the family now.
What made her think she could eat your stepdad's? You
I
don't
told
go
her
and
she
eat
could
a
I
man's food.
listen,
Don't, don't
I
do that.
told her that she could eat whatever she wanted and she
So
did
it's your
that.
fault.
It is my fault. 1,000% is my
So why'd
fault,
she
but
get into trouble then? You should have gotten
because
into trouble.
it's true.
What sort of muffin was it?
It was a banana nut muffin.
Oh, you can have those. I'd rather have a blueberry muffin.
Those ones
Uh,
are good too, like a blueberry streusel muffin, with the crumbs on top and they fall off. Oh, so good.
Never eat a man's food and never change a song on his stereo. That's all. That's all I'm going to say. If you want to stay out
hmm
of trouble. Anyway, we do love Nicole, and she'll be competing,
hmm
obviously. And geez,
Yeah.
it's only 5 months' time. So
Yeah.
anyway, let's go through
hmm
these final 10.
Yeah.
Number one, what is your favorite word?
Ooh. Well, my favorite word. So I'm trying to do a word of the year. And so my word of the year this year is faith and believing in God's plan. And I've had to trust in it. And like we talked about earlier, he loves to give me patience. And so faith is definitely my favorite word for this year, or the word that I'm focusing on.
What is your least favorite word?
Can't. I hate the word can't. If someone said, I can't do this, I also coach tumbling. So it was my biggest pet peeve whenever someone said, I can't do this, or, like I can't do a handstand or I can't do a cartwheel, or if someone tells me, well, I can't do that because I don't have XYZ. And I'm very much so someone who, if I'm going to make it happen, no matter which way, where, like,
Yeah.
no matter how, I'm gonna make something happen. And I have been instilled in my life that can't isn't a word that should be in my vocabulary.
Mm.
Because if there's a will, there's a way, and I will find it.
I will say, as a tennis coach, I also hate that word.
Yeah.
And it got to the point with my students, every time they would say, we in Australia we say
hmm
can't, every time they said that word, they would have to run a lap of the courts.
I
And
would
then they'd
make them
come
do
back.
push-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how quickly people learn not to say that. They would
hmm
begin to say it, and I would say, well, you can say I can't yet, but you can't
Yes,
just say I can't.
exactly.
And it's so they would
hmm
catch themselves about,
Yeah.
oh, actually, no, it's okay. It's like, okay, good. We're,
hmm
we're, we're making progress. In life, what gets you excited? What turns you on?
Oh. A challenge. I love a good challenge. Especially like being in pageantry, being in a male-dominated field, and being in STEM. I love a good challenge.
Have you ever hit a hole in one?
No, but I did get a par
Okay.
four, my first three
Wow.
months of golfing, which is awesome, especially as someone who doesn't know how to golf, and I don't really have good hand-eye coordination. I didn't play sports with a ball growing up, so I mean it's really impressive for me.
Do you have a handicap?
I don't know. I have no clue.
You got a par four. How did you manage to
Yeah.
do that? I get a par 12 or something. It was terrible. Anyway, that's what turns you on. What about what
hmm
turns you off?
Ooh. Mm. Let's see. Being stagnant. I hate just staying the same.
What sound or noise do you love?
Oh, I think, oh gosh, sound or noise. That one's really hard. I would like to say probably whenever you like first jump on a bed, or get under the covers, whenever with a freshly made bed. I think that's a very satisfying sound. And I already know the next question that you're probably gonna ask me is what is a sound that you hate? And it's nails on chalkboard. I think that's very common with people.
Thank you for asking my question. I don't even need to be here. You can ask and answer all by yourself. Next question: if you could have any superpower, what would you pick and why?
God. Oh, teleportation. I drive quite a bit and like my friend Nicole, I tend to overbook myself. So if I could teleport anywhere, I think it would make my life a lot easier.
I think it's funny you gave Nicole a shout out. She stole your mum and stole your dad's
It's
food.
okay. I am gonna switch over phones. Hopefully you can still hear me. My phone is like about
Yep.
to die.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. We're all good. Number 8. What job other than your own would you most like to attempt?
Ooh, owning a gym. I would definitely, that's something that I want to do in the future, way down the line, once I'm more established in my career, is to own a gym. I think that would be really fun to do so.
What would you name your gym?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I was actually talking about it with one of my friends about like a plan of having like a women's only gym and having really
Mhm.
good lighting and everything and making sure that there's a bunch of mirrors. So I'd like to think it would like the title that comes in my head is like hot girl fitness or something like that. So something probably cliche or cheesy like that, or something along those lines.
Okay. What job would you definitely not like to attempt?
Oh, probably being a nurse or a doctor. Like I said, I don't like needles and I don't like blood. Which is oddly enough, if someone's hurt or injured, I'm the first one there to try and take care
Mm,
of it. But whenever it comes
yeah.
to other people describing like their surgery or something that happened to them or the thought of needles, ugh, can't do it. Nope.
I was interviewing a former Miss Teen USA title holder, Bailey Guy, who's competing in the
hmm
Miss America opportunity as well now. And she hates blood so much that one time she was shaving in the shower, cut herself, looked down, saw that she was bleeding, passed out in the shower. That's
Okay, I'm
next
not
level.
that nut. I'm not to that point. I can deal with it on my own body, but
What
like
was I going to say?
if someone else is describing it, I think it's mainly just needles. Needles, I think, is that's the part that
Yeah.
can't do.
Yeah. Well, I don't think anyone likes needles. I
No.
particularly don't like it when they have to take blood because then the needle has to stay in your arm for eons and it
Yeah,
jiggles around when they're attaching the vacuum tubes. And I'm just like, I
right,
get irrationally angry. It's like, can we just get this over and done
right,
with? Just
right,
cut me open.
exactly. Well, but then of course, if there's a blood drive, I sign up for it, and then I always tell them, I'm like, hey, I hate needles, and they're like, why are you here then? And I'm like, that's a good
I want to get
question.
blood.
Yeah, because I'm trying to do,
Neat.
my good civic duty.
Yeah. Okay, final question. If heaven exists, what
Mhm.
would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh. I think really that everything that I've gone through has been worth it. We didn't get to touch into everything, but I've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations, and I'm very much so again, like I said, someone who believes that, everything that happens in your life happens for a reason and it comes with a lesson. And so I would like to just know that everything that has
Mm,
happened to me, whether good or bad, has definitely been for a reason, or even just to know that I have touched people's lives in a way that made a positive
mm,
difference, again, which is very important to me. I care about how people feel about me rather than, how I look or anything like that. So just knowing that the good that I put out into the world comes back and made a difference.
yeah. Hopefully, you get to hear that when you go up there. I think
Mm,
sometimes down here we just have to settle for doing good feels good,
right.
and
Hmm.
that's pretty much all the thought process I put into it.
Yeah.
Well, Madalena, it's been a minute. We've been on long
Yeah.
enough to make your phone go flat. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Nicole told me that you were such a delight to talk with, so I was so excited to talk with you.
I still, every time I see Nicole, all I'm going to think now is Muffin Stealer.
And Mom Stealer.
It's a horrible moniker to have in pageant
I
land.
know.
Did you ever tell her? Oh no, she got into trouble for stealing your dad's. Okay, all right.
Yes, yes, yeah.
But she didn't dob you in. She didn't say, "Well, Madalena said I could take it."
Well, actually, no, technically she doesn't know that she got in trouble for it. So,
Ah, okay. So she
yeah.
doesn't know you. You might want to tell her before I do because I
Okay,
think it's
perfect. I mean,
hilarious.
I'll get off the phone right now and I'll call her and I'll be like, "Hey, just want to let you know, you got in
Just a
trouble for
heads up.
stealing." Just a heads up. It's gonna be posted that
Yes.
you got in trouble for eating my stepdad's muffin and using his cup, even though you didn't know it was his cup. I didn't know it was his cup either. So, I mean, yeah.
Is it really his cup if you don't know that it's his cup, though? I mean, is that one of those things where it's like be a bit less overprotective?
I don't know. I guess he was looking for it and he couldn't find it. And so it was in the room that Nicole was staying in. And so then I brought it down. He was like, "That's where it went." And I was like, "Well, Nicole used it." And he goes, "She's not allowed to stay here anymore." And I'm like, "Oh, it sucks
So
because
you dobbed her in.
yes, technically I
All right. Well, nice to know as a former friend, Nicole.
did."
Um, but anyway, I'll keep you on the line just as I hang up. But thanks
Yeah.
everyone for watching, and we'll speak to you next time.